There's a poem from a 17th century Sufi mystical poet from Kabul, a poem celebrating Kabul. The text is going up through the road, through this portion. Kabul wears a rugged mountain skirt, and the rose is jealous of its lash-like thorns. The dust of Kabul's blowing soil smarts lightly in my eyes, but I love her, for knowledge and love both come from her dust. I love that. There's our entire section. Isn't that cool? See, we're always playing with positives and negatives. So you'd think the land is the positive and the water's the negative, and the water's the positive for us. It really catches the light. Inside of Manhattan, in about 50 different languages, it's going to say, "This is my city." In everything, in Swahili, in Japanese, and Chinese, and every language you can think of, it's going to say, "New York is my city." So that's New York.
When you're pushing your gold onto your glue, use your tissue. The oils in your skin will change the gold, okay? You only touch the gold through the tissue. The real one. Here's Ruth Applehoff.
Hi.
Saying hello to all of you.
Oh, thank you very, very much for coming. It's a thrill to have you all here and to have you meet Ellen Frank. So we're very excited about this exhibition, and especially our peace celebration today. Thank you very much.
And I think we should all applaud Ruth because it's so special, I have to tell you, that she has embraced Cities of Peace. She has embraced the mission of the project. She has embraced the first Guildhall Peace Festival. It's our first Cities of Peace Festival, and this is all due to the generosity and spirit and vision of Ruth and of the other Guildhall staff. Fake metal leaf, toned or varnished, passed for real gold. So this can be worked with in a wonderful way, but I just caution you to be honest about it, so you're not deceiving anyone. The problem with deception is the material will age and betray you. It'll come back to bite you. Okay.
Hi, I'm Rachel Feldman with Hampton's TV, and we are here today celebrating the Peace Festival at Guildhall. We have the honor of speaking to the artist and visionary behind the Cities of Peace exhibit at Guildhall. Hi, Ellen, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm so glad to be talking with you.
So I was reading that you said this entire exhibit was inspired by your trip to Jerusalem. What made you decide to branch out to other cities and other countries?
It came with the completion of Jerusalem. When I finished Jerusalem, which took a year, I felt at the end of it I wanted a party to celebrate it. And as I was writing the invitation, I wrote Jerusalem, a painting toward peace, and then a moment of grace came, and I wrote the first painting. So the first painting was Jerusalem, and then because of in the aftermath of 9/11 and with the United States, I decided to honor other cities that have suffered or were suffering right then and there. So I started Baghdad right away and Kabul and developed this idea and dream of giving hope, giving voice to the greatness of each of these cities.
Right, and that's why you said you include the art of the countries. You include specific details of the country besides just the beauty and the landscape and the maps. You've included art. Is it because of the healing powers of art?
I think yes. I think art is wonderfully healing, and I think that to view art is actually to participate in the healing process. Also, these paintings are full of information, of history, of content, and what contemporary viewers forget is that we can read paintings almost as if they're books. They have a narrative, and in the case of Cities of Peace, the paintings have a narrative that reflects the history of that particular culture, its symbols, its architecture, its colors, its style, so that each painting is unique.
Right, and when you started the Jerusalem project, were you working with interns then? Because you work with interns with part of your foundation, or is that something that you just started on your own?
I started Jerusalem as I was dreaming the foundation, the nonprofit organization. So during the making of Jerusalem, which as I've said took a year for me alone with one assistant, we built the concept of a nonprofit arts organization that would work with gilding and would work with art dedicated to peace and global understanding. So when Jerusalem was finished, all sorts of excitement issued from it and around it. And Cities of Peace was born. In 3 months, we opened our doors, and first interns came from Korea, from Hong Kong, from Estonia, from Colombia. It was a miracle.
And how involved are they in, do you give them a concept and let them go, or are they allowed to decide things on their own?
It depends upon the artistic sophistication of each intern. I would say it's a marriage, it's collaborative, and it's been an honor for me to work with such talented young people. I, as artistic director, have a vision, and the model or structural reference for the Illumination Atelier, as it's called, is the Renaissance studio, in which there is a master artist and there are apprentices. So in this case, I am the master artist, and the interns are apprentices, but unlike those early ateliers and the medieval guilds, our interns each get name credit forevermore. They participate in research, they brainstorm about design, and then they work on the piece right alongside me. So their names go with the work for perpetuity.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, they're like your students, but they're also sort of your contemporaries, and you can send them out into the world and have, maybe they'll continue Cities of Peace, but you're continuing it. This is not the end, right?
This is not the end. We're at work on Beirut. In fact, one of the visitors to the exhibition said, "Oh, my husband's from Beirut, may we call you?" And that happened with Sarajevo, which we're standing in front of. We worked with Japanese, we worked with Liberians, we work with scholars and experts and former residents and current residents of every city. So we not only collaborate in the training process with our interns, but we also collaborate and brainstorm with scholars and experts from all over the world.
Wow, and when you decide to go on to a new place? Is it because you felt inspired by tragedies there or things that were going on, or is there a plan? I guess is what I'm asking. Are you going specific places? Is there a plan?
Well, that's such a great question. Actually, Monrovia, the capital of Liberia, was a request by Jean-Marie Guéhenno, who was Under-Secretary General of the United Nations in charge of peacekeeping. And he had said that Monrovia at the time was the only world capital without electricity or running water. So we did Monrovia. Then Jeff Spur from Harvard's Aga Khan Program for Islamic Architecture said, please, after you've done your first 7th, will you do Sarajevo? I didn't know that in 1991, Sarajevo was the site of the single largest book burning in modern history. More than 2 million books intentionally destroyed. So what we're doing in Cities of Peace, we're not only honoring cities where there's been genocide, but we're actually honoring what's sadly called culturicide, the actual death of an entire culture forevermore. We need to know or recognize violence. We need to recognize tragedy and loss. Once we know it and we understand it, we can work to transform it. If we work for peace without understanding tragedy and loss, our work is empty of a profound resonance. So we can err on either side. We can be eager beavers and march, or we can be violent and angry. And in the middle is a way of understanding and honoring and working. And that's the middle way that we strive for.
I definitely think that's representative in your work, which is beautiful, and it's been just a joy to have this here. So there's a lot of exciting events coming up in the Peace Festival today. What do we have to look forward to?
Oh, we have so much. We've just shown the film, The Making of Cities of Peace, which was shot by Academy Award-winning filmmaker Don Lenzer and edited by Eric Glandbard. And now we have peace poetry with wonderful poets, Terry Kennedy, Scott Chasky, Danny Simmons, coming and reading, and Maria Piscino. And after that, we have music for peace. So we have a poetry jam and a music jam. And after that, we have a tour. It's called the Insiders Tour of Cities of Peace.
Very exciting. We can't wait.
Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal." I welcome you myself. I want to welcome you to the Dreaming Peace Poetry Jam. What better place to honor Dr. King and his dream, which is now our dream, than here among the cities of peace. If you've seen the cities, and as Ellen has mentioned to you, you know there's poetry within the paintings. In Lhasa, 10 Directions, we find the words of an anonymous poet of the 4th century describing his or her Tibet. This center of heaven, this core of the earth, this heart of the world fenced round with snow. Words that also describe our home.
It's my great honor now to introduce Danny Simmons. Danny is vice chairman and co-founder of Rush Philanthropic Arts Foundation, a New York-based foundation dedicated to providing disadvantaged urban youth with significant exposure and access to the arts, as well as providing exhibition opportunities for underrepresented artists and artists of color.
This was I thought I'd go last or something. I write poetry. I'm not a big poetry reader in front of a whole bunch of people, but Ellen reached out to me and asked me would I do this, and it was such a compelling ask. I said, okay. But I said I might not be very good at reading the poetry. But I got inspired by talking to Ellen, and then my friend, I don't know where he is, Ray in the back, sent me a video by an artist and a poet and a writer who had died recently named Captain Beefheart. Captain, did anybody remember Captain Beefheart? Well, I did some research and I found some words, and then I said, you know, I might not write a poem exactly about peace, but I'm going to write a poem about why we need peace. And so I wrote a poem dedicated to Captain Beefheart called Stir, Stir, Conjure and Brew, and dedicated for this gathering here. Stir, stir, conjure and brew, in this pot is special things to do. Stir, stir, conjure and brew, in the pot is me and you. We are the whispers of the flat-footed ghost of America, rattling chains and haunting the dreams of broken wheelchair maidens and their wheezing footmen. Those bloated horsemen and their tiny Middle Eastern jockeys burn sage in the windows of airships high above my parking meter. I remain bound to the promises made to my forefathers as we from the field watched the bead trading and the people shuffling off the ships offshore, dragging our drowned dead still chained, dragged into seas, into wars to come in waves forever and a day. In this pot, we got special things to do. We poets huddle and conjure, spitting rum and curses into the brewing pot. Spit, stir, conjure, and brew. In the pot, we got special things to do. We got to render America down to the bones, rip the flesh from the resurrected war machine, and cast it into the brewing pot. Because in this pot, we got special things to do. Stir, stir, conjure, and brew. In this pot is me and you. Stir, stir, conjure, and brew. Stir, stir, conjure. Stir, stir, stir. In this pot, we got special things to do. Peace. Okay.
And the painting Kabul have their skirts done in a poem. And instead of invading armies walking up the street of Kabul, a love poem from the 17th century marches with love, not arms, up the street. So I'm going to read this poem. And I think as Scott Chasky was talking about us as stewards of the earth, Cities of Peace chastens us and says we are also stewards of cities, of cultures, of urban dwellers, as Danny is working with urban youth, so we need to preserve the greatness of our cities as homes to so much cultural achievement. Here's the poem, Kabul. This is a translation done by a group of friends. Oh, the beautiful city of Kabul wears a rugged mountain skirt, and the rose is jealous of its lash-like thorns. The dust of Kabul's blowing soil smarts lightly in my eyes, lightly in my eyes. But I love her, for knowledge and love both come from her dust. I sing bright praises to her colorful tulips. The beauty of her trees makes me blush. How sparkling the water flows from Pul-e-Mastan. May Allah protect such beauty from the evil eye of man. Kizer chose Kabul over paradise, for her mountains brought him near to heaven's delights. The fort's dragon-sprawling walls guard the city well. Each brick is more precious than the treasures of Shayagan. Every street in Kabul fascinates the eye. In the bazaars, Egypt's caravans pass by. No one can count the beauteous moons on her rooftops and hundreds of lovely suns hidden behind her walls. Her morning's laugh is as gay as flowers, and hundreds of lovely suns hide behind her walls. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Her morning's laugh is as gay as flowers. Her dark nights shine like beautiful hair. Her tuneful nightingales sing with flame in their notes. Fiery songs like burning leaves fall from their throats. I sing to the gardens Jahanara and Shahra'a. Even the tuba of paradise is jealous of their greenery. That's a 17th century poem by Misra Muhammad Ali Saib.
Hi, I'm Rachel Feldman with Hampton's TV, and we are here with Danny Simmons, writer, artist, poet, co-founder of the Rush Philanthropic Arts Foundation and of Deaf Poetry. So you're here today for the Peace Festival in honor of Martin Luther King.
Right.
How did you get involved with Cities of Peace?
I got an email out of nowhere from Ellen Frank, and she might have come to my art show that I had at a Walk Talk Gallery or Spaniarman Gallery here. Every summer I probably have an art show here. And I guess she knew me from there, and she heard I was a poet. And she asked me would I participate. And I didn't know anything about the organization, and she started telling me a little bit about it, and I thought it was like a great thing to come out here. So I jumped in my car and came all the way out here from Brooklyn to hang out.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
So did you already have pieces that you knew you wanted to read, or were you inspired by some of the work?
You know, I was inspired. I read one very long poem that is in a book of mine, I Dreamed My People Were Calling. And the other one I wrote specifically for this event. And it was inspired by this artist, poet, and musician that died in the 1960s. I mean, died recently, but was very big in the late 60s and 70s, Captain Beefheart. And so I heard some of his music. A friend of mine had sent it to me, and I was inspired. I wrote this poem called Stir, Stir, Conjure, and Brew about changing the nature of America through magic.
Through magic?
Through magic, through voodoo, through hoodoo. So, and it really turned out well. I wrote it, and I sent it to Ellen, and she loved the poem. And she said, yes, please come and do that. I said, well, it's not specifically about peace, but it is about what's going on and why we need peace. And so she said, well, thank you, and I read it, and the people loved it. So.
Yeah, and we do need peace. I mean, especially in a time, in the times that we are in now. And what do you think about that? This is in honor of Martin Luther King. What do you think about his message and how it still evokes in minds of people today?
Martin Luther King's message, I mean, it was directed at a specific situation in the United States, but it resonates for situations that are all over the world at the moment. I mean, the people oppressed and the people that are starving and hungry. And, his message of nonviolence and social action coupled together to make change happen is a message that needs to be adhered to now and into the future. Things have gotten better in some sectors and gotten worse in others. So his message is as relevant today as it was when he was alive.
It is. It really is. And I think a lot of his message is coming through in Cities of Peace.
Oh, no, this is a beautiful exhibition. Ellen's work is beautiful, and the poets' work, I heard some beautiful poetry, all very inspirational. And, there's a good group of people gathered here. So
It really was. Thank you so much for being with us today. Your work was beautiful, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for talking to me. Okay.
Thanks. I'm Rachel Feldman with Hampton's TV.
they breathe is more valuable than yours. And increasing by the day.
Argentina, Chile, Darfur. What's going on with the song? Entraron la verdad en una cárcel de dolores.
We're here with Ruth Applehoff, Executive Director of Guildhall, and today we are all here for the Peace Festival in honor of Martin Luther King Day. Hi, Ruth. How are you?
Right. Hi, Rachel. It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to be sure and thank people for coming. We've had a huge crowd. It's been a wonderful celebration. Danny Simmons and his poetry, Ellen Frank and her paintings. It's really been sensational. And of course, we're delighted that this is our first annual Peace Festival in honor of Martin Luther King.
And how did this come about, the idea of having a Peace Festival? Was that because there was Cities of Peace here? Or
Yes,
was that...
that's right. Actually, I think we have to give all the credit to Ellen Frank, who really worked so hard to make this come about. She, through her paintings, of course, is very interested in peace and, of course, works closely with people in various countries around the world to achieve peace. But now, today, we're able to actually bring that message to Guildhall and East Hampton.
And so in the years to come, this is the first annual, so you plan on doing the Peace Festival again?
We'd love to do it again. Of course, we'd love to do it, and hope everyone will come back again.
And what other exciting events should we look forward to at Guildhall?
Well, thank you for asking. We actually are having the Student Art Festival opening up at the end of the month, and actually a number of wonderful programs associated with the Student Art Festival for kids. We have Alec Baldwin coming to present a film that he loves particularly. And we have the Met Opera on Saturdays here, simulcast. So we hope people come to all of these things and more.
That's great. Thank you so much. We hope you come down to Guildhall for some of these exciting events. I'm Rachel Feldman with Hampton's Television. Thanks, Ruth.
You're welcome. Thank you.